So, good afternoon and warm welcome to all of you from Consultants Consortium of Chennai and Management Systems Consultants Consortium. Both these associations are formal registered associations for consultants, comprising of management system consultants, technical consultants, and various other categories of consultants. CCC is what we call it as shortly is a 5-year-old consulting organization. Welcome, Anupamji. And MSCC is just about less than 2-year-old organization. So we are a not-for-profit entity, and we keep organizing, conducting a lot of stakeholder education, including even consumer education sessions sometimes related to uh, standards, certifications, and regulations. We come from this domain. And so all our engagements are not only for industry and various other stakeholders. Sometimes we do pick up conversations which will benefit consumers and communities also. And today we are here actually to initiate the second session in the month of uh, November quality series. Actually, all of you must be aware that November is the month of quality, which is known as World Quality Month and being celebrated across the globe. So we are celebrating World Quality Month, and we have World Quality Day. CQI celebrates World Quality Day from November 5th to I think November 11th to 15th of November. And the second Thursday in the month of November is on November 14th is actually the World Quality Day. So there is a global theme, and globally, all the conversations and discussions are happening around this theme. So the theme for this year is actually to bring the focus from compliance to performance in the business world and the industry corridors. And on one side, we see increasing compliances and increasing regulations. On the other side, there's a pressure that is building from within the entrepreneurial world that there's enough and too much focus on the regulations and compliances, and businesses need to focus more on performance improvements. So there are conversations, discussions happening, whether it is performance through compliance or the shift should be away from the compliance towards performance. So all kinds of discussions and conversations are happening. So we have designed the whole of this month. Actually, our session started from November 5th, and this is the second session till December 3rd. We are covering sessions on manufacturing quality, also on service quality, because as a country, we see that we have too much focus and intense focus on product quality, product certifications, product standards, and technical regulations. But then as a country, actually, we are very strong. We are a service economy predominantly, and major chunk of our GDP is actually from services sector. But then the focus on services quality is not that much, and we don't find regular conversations related to regulations or standards or certifications related to services sector. So we have designed the conversations in such a manner. There are about 12 to 13 sessions we have planned. These are Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday sessions. And we have about 6 to 7 sessions from manufacturing sector, and maybe another 6, 7 sessions from services sector also. We keep updating, we keep sharing our web page here, and all the sessions, all the participants keep getting updates on this. Generally, because it's a working week, and it's becoming increasingly tough for the working professionals also to join daytime conversations. So what we normally do is all our sessions recordings are updated in our YouTube channels, being circulated to the industry corridors, and everybody, and majority of them watch the recordings, because at the end of the day, the intent here is actually to create awareness and sensitization. And so the learning happens maybe in an offline format or an online format, or somebody can even watch all these recordings remotely later. So I would like to again thank once again the speakers for joining us today, and the institutional representatives, and the audience from the industry, from the consultants, from the startups and the innovators. We actually create conversations whenever we do this kind of conversations, we make it a point that innovators and startups are part of this conversations, and it's an inclusive environment right from the day one. Now we have started doing the sessions. Innovators and startups always find place in all these regular sessions wherever the slots or the topics are related to them. So with this, I would like to hand over the session to our session host. And because, as I said, this is an initiative of the consultants, and all of us, all the consultants come forward, and then, to host the sessions, to work and design the topics. And we all do a lot of background work and back end work also. So today we have Smita Venkatesh, who is a very senior management consultant and a trainer and connected to various standards, especially from AHS space. I to introduce herself. Aarti, are you sharing the screen? Yeah. Let me introduce Smita. She's our session host today. So she's a senior quality management systems lead auditor, trainer, and consultant for QMS, EMS, and OHSMS standards. She's also connected to various platforms, and she's a resource person and a trustee in various organizations like IMSR in Bangalore, something to do with media law, cyber law, ethics, and all that posh. And she's also part of an institutional ethics committee member for clinical drugs trials at Chandra Institute of Dermatology and Immunology, Bangalore. And she's also part of Kadri Shamanna Smaraka Trust. It's a research center at Malkot, Karnataka. And she's a GC member in the Quality Circle Forum of India, Bangalore chapter. And she's an AC member in the Public Relations Council of India, Bangalore chapter. Smita has volunteered to host the session and then to drive the conversation and seamlessly. So over to you, Smita. So that's it from our side. Let me thank once again for the participation.
Thank you. Thank you, Rama ma'am. Thank you, Consultant Consortium of Chennai, for this wonderful initiative. As Rama madam mentioned, we all need a platform to discuss, because otherwise consultants work as islands many of the times. So this is a very fine platform where that is on the alternate days through the month. Such sessions pertaining to particular domains would be there, and you could go to the website and you could be part of these wonderful enriching sessions through the month. So coming to the session of today, as it was already mentioned by ma'am, that it is very difficult to differentiate. When we talk about quality, yes, comes with something else also, which is very important, which is not understood. As a practitioner, I have seen that whenever I go to audit quality management, so the other aspects of safety or environment is totally not considered at all. So yes, these are certain things which are part of the compliance, that is legal requirements an industry or an enterprise has to follow. But for so many reasons, because we have a large plethora of micro and small industries, which are literally the backbone of the manufacturing sector in our country. So they have their own limitations as such, right? So coming this August, there was a game changer, what happened from the government. That is, I call it as a game changer because this is going to be completely, a requirement as such, mandatory requirements for everybody to follow. So this was in the form of a quality control order, which was released by the Heavy Industry Ministry for the Machinery and Electrical Equipment Safety, Omnibus Technical Regulation Order 2024. So this means whenever a QCO is released, I think we will be hearing more on that from the horse's mouth. That is the BIS, which is instrumental in making these QCOs. It is they give 1 year time for you to enforce it. That is from August 2024 to August 2025. You're supposed to, all the industries are supposed to align their safety practices with the global standards, which this particular regulatory order is trying to achieve. So the new safety rules of this machinery and electrical equipment, it is set to kick off as I said, from 2025 August, is likely to impact over 50,000 types of machinery and electrical equipment produced by more than 150,000 manufacturers. And of course, because this is compliance, so there would be an attached compliance cost to it also. While export-oriented machinery is exempted under this regulation, the new order provides little relief because most of the Indian companies produce for both domestic as well as export markets. So that means it requires full BIS certification across the entire product range, right? So naturally, it is going to increase the regulatory burden on the industry side. So this actually is in line with the Make in India concept, which started in 2014. It's been 10 years now, where the country has been striving to create its own unique space in the manufacturing hub, right? So quality control orders are one of such initiatives which play a very crucial role in this success of Make in India initiative. By enforcing quality at every stage of production, QCOs support the broader goals of the Make in India initiative, promoting sustainable growth and development in the manufacturing sector. Government of India is working on a mission mode on this. And we know that because as I already mentioned, quality means different. In one of the international forums during the COVID times, when there was a talk of the developed world shifting their base, means trying to find an alternative manufacturing hub. Their question was, will it be possible for an alternative hub to be developed in any other part of the world, right? That time, the question was that, yes, India is one of the countries which can produce high quality products and supply, but they had a big question mark on the compliance aspect. So that is the compliance what we are talking out here, where this QCO tries to bring in the safety aspects requirements for all the required products which has been listed. So these QCOs have been released since 1987 and under the aegis of the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade and other line ministries and departments in consultation with the BIS. These QCOs are formulated and released by the government. And I think they cover all the sectors, right? So they are basically regulatory. We see that, it is a voluntary, standards are voluntary in nature, but when it comes in the form of a QCO, it becomes a mandatory requirement for everybody to follow. And one of the main objective of why this QCO is, it is to bring in the consumer confidence, to build consumer trust in the Indian products, and also to expand the market reach of our own people who are the manufacturers, and also to increase the competitiveness. Manufacturing sector actually contributes to around 17% of the nation's GDP. And with a vision of contribution of 25%, that is in 2025, to the GDP, this is one of the initiative, right? So it is these QCOs very meticulously designed to fortify the quality benchmarks of Make in India products, fostering innovation and technological advancements, and basically preventing the proliferation of inferior products in the market. They want to bring that down because these products will not ensure consumer safety, right? There is a big risk on that. So potential to loss of life and accidents associated with substandard goods. That is keeping in mind, and also enhancing innovation. And also on the control of imports, so that country becomes self-sufficient and the economy can sustain by driving this. And today's session actually is going to be a very informative kind of a session. And we are going to get a 360-degree kind of an understanding on these QCOs with the speaker lineup, a very interesting lineup out here, where we have representatives from the standards body, that is the QCO creators, I would say, the BIS, and the executors or the facilitators, somebody, who are the interface between the people who use the QCOs implement, and also the people who create it, that is the consultants, right, who understand and try to mentor the industries how to who, when, and how, where to implement these QCOs. And then we have the implementers, the industry representatives who actually implement these QCOs and what has been their journey and their challenges. So, which includes manufacturers, producers, sellers, brand owners, and also warehouses who store these particular products. It is applicable to them too. So this is the lineup what we have for today. And with no more delay, I am looking forward for the first of the speakers who comes from the creator zone, that is the Bureau of Indian Standards. So we have with us here Shri Ranjit Kumar, Joint Director, Bureau of Indian Standards, with us here. So I would request Ranjit Kumar sir to please introduce himself. Before that, I would like to introduce the esteemed organization, which we all know, Bureau of Indian Standards. So Bureau of Indian Standards serves as a national standards body of India, is harmonized to a great extent with the relevant international standards as laid down by the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, International Electrotechnical Commission, IEC. It's involved in standardization, marking, and quality certification of goods and conformity assessments with the underlining objective of providing safe, reliable, and quality goods. BIS certification scheme is a voluntary in nature, but the center can make this compliance, as we saw, in the form of QCO, compulsory, right? This is because of the consideration of public interest, protection of human, animal, or plant health, safety of environment, prevention of unfair trade practices, and of course, national security. For such products, the central government comes out with, as we see, the use of mandatory standard marks or the conformity certificate of conformity COCs from the BIS. Right. So these BIS is the consultation body through whom the ministries understand the technical aspects and come out with all these standards and regulations which the one has to follow in the business. BIS has already published for the identified 179 products for which QCOs will be enforced in the coming days. You can log on to the website and you can see that from tomorrow, that is 8th of November 2024 to March 2025, around 179 products have already been earmarked and the date of release also has been marked out there. So this is an advanced kind of an information for better awareness purpose. Thank you, BIS, for holding on to the standard and also creating a market for the Indian products. And I welcome Sir Ranjit sir to give a brief introduction of himself and throw light on this omnibus technical regulation. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Hope I am audible to all of you. Can anybody confirm me?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. My name is Ranjit Kumar. I am Scientist D, Joint Director in Bureau of Indian Standard. I am working in Central Mark Department 1 of Bureau of Indian Standard. Basically, my department is associated with or looking after the product certification policy matter or technical regulation matter in consultation with the government. As Smita ma'am rightly said, that under the provision of BIS Act 2016, there is a power given to the central government to notify the product for mandatory BIS certification in consultation with BIS. So BIS provide the consultancy with respect to the Indian standard and what conformity assessment will be better for a particular type of product. So such kind of consultancy we are providing at the central government, and central government in consultation with BIS issued a quality control order. Or ma'am, as present, 181 QCOs are already notified by various ministries and departments, covering more than 750 products. And out of these 750 products, I think more than 500 products are already implemented, and some products are going to be implemented in near future, like in next 3 months or 6 months. So today I'm going to present a brief introduction of what machinery and electrical equipment OTR issued by the Ministry of Heavy Industry. So I have a brief presentation. So just give me 1 minute. I will share my screen. Yeah, thank you.
In the meantime, I request the participants and everybody to, you can post your questions which you want to ask the panelists out here. And at the end of this, every session, we would be, calling out the questions for the answers.
Hope my screen is shared. Can anybody confirm it?
Yes, please. Visible.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to give a brief introduction of the Machinery and Electrical Equipment Safety Omnibus Technical Regulation Order issued by the Ministry of Heavy Industry 2024. So this particular OTR, Omnibus Technical Regulation, the short form of Omnibus Technical Regulation is OTR. So I will use the word OTR several times. So this OTR has been issued by the Ministry of Heavy Industry in 28th of August 2024. So the main purpose of bringing this OTR is to, if you see the many of the worker who is working in the industry are who is working in the soft floor in the industry are 24 into 7 hours related to the machines. So it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to manufacture the machine which is safe, so that there should not be any safety hazard for the worker who is working with those machineries. So, keeping in this aspect, the Ministry of Heavy Industries come out with the notification, Omnibus Technical Regulations on 28th August 2024. This particular notification is available in the Ministry website or BIS website in the public domain. Uh, after after the issuance of this OTR, it will implement after the 1 year of the notification. Since it is notified on 28th August 2024, so it means it will be implemented on 28th August 2025. So this particular OTR is applicable to the some kind of machine. At least 20 category of machines are covered in this particular OTR, which is given in the first schedule of the OTR. And obviously there are some proviso are also there, like some construction equipment which are covered in CMVR rules issued by MORTH are exempted from the purview of this OTR. And if some machines which are already covered, yeah, or some products are already covered in the other QCO issued by other ministry in BIS Act, are also exempted from the purview of this OTR. So if you see the OTR, there are 3 schedules are given. The first schedule is the list of the machinery and electrical equipment. As I already told, there are 20 categories of machineries and electrical equipment are given in the schedule 1. And not only the machine, its assembly, sub-assembly and components are also given. And the second schedules are basically for the list of the type B standards. The type B standards is a generic safety standard, which is dealing with our one safety aspect or more than one type of safeguard that can be used across a wide range of machinery. Suppose if you see the guard which is used in a suppose like one kind of machine, so it is not mandatory to that safeguard is used for one kind of machinery. It can be used with a variety of machinery. So on those all machinery type B standards are applicable. And the third schedules are given is for type C standard. Type C standard is a specific standard for a specific group of machines. So if you have to comply with the order, this OTR, you have to first identify the machines and then identify the type C standard which is applicable to your machines. So this is very important part. And also type A standards are also given in the OTR, but there is no separate schedule are given for type A standard, because there is only one type A standard, and the standard is mentioned in the OTR itself. That is IS 1689/2018, which is the adoption of a ISO standard 12100/2010. This standard is basically for the general principle of design, risk assessment and risk reduction. And this standard is applicable to all of the machines. Or suppose if a type C standard is mentioned in the OTR and is deviate from the provision dealt by the other type or type B standard, then type C standard we have to take, it is a precedence. So as I already told that the type standard is a basic concept or principle for design and general specs that can be applied to the machinery. It means the type standard is applicable to all machinery. And the further the type B standard, which deal with the one safety spec or one type of safeguard that can be used across a wide range of machinery. Further, the type B standards are further divided into two types, type B1 and B2. Suppose if a particular safety aspect is to be dealt by the any standard, that is called a type B1 standard. Suppose if any safeguard is to be dealt for a machinery, then it is called it is covered under a type B2 standard. In type 2 B2 standard, some examples are given in this slide, like two-hand controls, interlocking devices, or pressure sensitive devices, guards. So that all requirement are given in the type B2 standard. And type C standard is a basic machine specific standard for a particular machines or group of machines. You can see in the picture that the type A standard, that is 16819, is a mother standard for all type B standard and type C standard. So suppose if you see in the OTR, if you find there is no type C standard against any of the machines, so the manufacturer is required to comply with the type B standard, which is applicable on those machines. Suppose if any of the type B standard is not applicable on any of the machines, then the manufacturer is required to apply a type A standard on those machines. So in the OTR, there are three compliance are given, which is mandatory for the manufacturer. The first compliance is to prior registration with BIS before grant of license or before grant of BIS certification. So for this, actually, we have already developed a portal, online portal for the domestic manufacturer, and it is also made live, I think, 10 days back. So the manufacturer of the machines is required to register themselves on the portal with a very generic information, like name and address of the factory of offices, the PAN number of the PAN number of the manufacturer, GST, and the contact details like email, office number, phone number, and details of the top management and the person who is authorized for getting BI certification. So this online portal is already has been made live. In the last slide, I will show how to get the manufacturer to get them self-registered with this portal. The online portal address is www.manakonline.in. So the earlier slide was the first compliance. Then the second compliance is to the confirm each and every machinery notified in the OTR with a specific Indian standard. And the third compliance is to get the BIS certification. So in this OTR, the certification is given by BIS as per the scheme 10. That particular scheme 10 is made dedicatedly for the safety of machine and electrical safety. So I will tell you the process of the scheme 10 of the BIS conformity assessment regulations. In scheme 10, the manufacturer is required to submit the certification application on the online portal. So right now we are working on the developing the portal for submitting the application. At present, only the prior registration portal is made live. So I think within 2 or 3 months, the application portal will also be made live. So if you see, the manufacturer is of the two categories. Suppose if a manufacturer is manufacturing a machines in a continuous basis, or if it is desired to intended to be manufactured in one time or a prototype machine. So for if a manufacturer is manufacturing a machine in a continuous basis, then they have to take a BIS certificate, BIS license. And suppose if a manufacturer is going to manufacture a machine for only one time, then they have to take a certificate of conformity instead of BIS license. And after that, the manufacturer is required to submit a technical file to BIS. In the technical file, there are lots of things to be submitted, like the design of the machines, the test certificate of the machines, and the components details and assembly, sub-assembly details in the technical file. That technical file is evaluated by the BIS officer on the desk evaluation basis. After desk evaluation, inspection and evaluation through a visit is planned by the BIS officers at the manufacturing premises or other site, whichever is applicable. And after that, the establishment of evidence means whether the machine is conforming to the relevant Indian standard or not is established during the visit. And after establishing the evidence, a decision is taken by the BIS for grant of license or COC, whichever is applicable. So, in the case of license, BIS initially grant a license to the manufacturer for not less than the 3 years and maximum up to 6 years. And subsequently, manufacturer is required to renew their license, and renewal period is also not less than the minimum 3 years and up to the maximum 6 years. And obviously, COC is given for the one time, so there is no renewal is given in COC. There is no provision of renewal in COC. So scheme 10 notification and procedure for guidelines is already guidelines are already available on BIS website. So this particular slide is talk about the fee which are applicable under the scheme 10. So the application fee for license or COC for both, the application fee is 2,000 rupees only, and the certification fee for license to use BIS standard mark is 25,000 per year. So suppose if a license is granted not less than a 3 years, it means a minimum 3 years. So manufacturer required to pay 25,000 into 3. And the certification fee for COC is 10,000 rupees only. Fee for review of technical file. Suppose if manufacturer is submitted only one technical file, then only 20,000 rupees per technical file is taken by the BIS. And subsequently, the inspection fee is 20,000 per mandate. Or if suppose if sample procurement is required for testing of the sample, then on actual basis the charges will be taken by the BIS. Obviously, there are so many concessions are also given by BIS for MSMEs. So 20% of MSME, 20% concession is already given to the MSME, and which is further enhanced up to 80% for the micro scale industry and for startup unit also. And for small scale industry, the concession is enhanced up to 50%, to 50%. Yeah. And for women entrepreneur, additional other in addition to the micro scale relaxation concession, in additional 10% concession is also given to the women entrepreneur. If the unit is situated in a northeast state, northeast area, then additional 10% also concession is given to those units. And fees are already notified in the Gazette of India and is already available on the BIS website. So that the first compliance is the prior registration with BIS before the BIS certification. So we have already developed a portal for the prior registration. So the manufacturer required to visit the www.manakonline.in portal, and you will see this page. And if you see there is a tab for conformity assessment bracket in bracket Manak Online. So you have to click the conformity assessment tab. So if you click the conformity assessment tab, then this page will come up. And if you see the top right side corner, there is a login button. So you have to click the login button. So you will see this page. If you see in this page, if you can see the create account tab link given in the bottom of the sign in button. So each and every manufacturer required to create their account with submitting the generic details of their manufacturing units. After creating the login credential, you are required to log in the Manak Online portal, and after login, you will get this this page. And in this page, if you see the third tab, the uppermost, the third tab is for Scheme 10 OTR registration. So you have to click this particular tab. So after that, you will get this page. In this page, if you see the third line, new Scheme X registration, click here to register with BIS as manufacturer of machinery or electrical equipment. So you have to click here. After clicking this, the next page will come like that. All the registration details will be auto-populated. If you require any addition, then you can edit this page also here. And after that, the manufacturer required to fill the detail of the contact person, the name of the contact person, the designation, email ID, and the contact number. And after that, you have to select the machinery or electrical equipment in the drop-down menu. All the 20 categories of machines or electrical equipment are given in this drop-down menu, and you have to select whichever is applicable to the manufacturer. Suppose if any manufacturer is manufacturing more than one type of machinery, then there is a plus tab also. Then you have to press the plus tab, and you will add if any other variety, other category of machinery we are going to manufacture. And also you have to specify the specific variety and the grade of the machine in the type of machine field. And after that, you have to put the submit button. Then you will get the registration successful page, and you will be successfully registered for scheme 10. This is the first compliance each and every manufacturer required to comply. And after that, the online portal, we are working on the online portal for submitting the application, online application for the scheme 10. So it will be available within 2 or 3 months. So after registering, you may, after some time, if you want to see whatever machine name you have entered, you can see after login again. Thank you. Thank you so much from my side.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So, yes, we have received some questions, sir. Yes, we have a question from Mr. Hanumant Rao. He's asking, what about already existing purchased machines or equipments compliance? Have they got to upgrade it? So,
Ma'am, basically, this OTR is applicable for the manufacturer end. So BIS grant the BIS certification to only the manufacturer, not to the user. So each and every manufacturer who is going to manufacture these machines, these 20 category of machines, they have to take a BIS certification.
so the answer, Hanumantrao sir, is that you have to buy BIS certified machines after
Date of
2025.
implementation. Yeah.
Yes. Sir, you mentioned about the periodicity of 3 to 6 years continuous for production, right? Continuous production. So during this period where they are certified, registered, you can do a surprise visit on their premises also?
Yeah, there is a provision for a surveillance visit. You can say surprise visit or surveillance visit. There is a provision.
Okay, so but that means to say that the people who would not have got this certification, it would be like it is a non-conforming product is in the market. So
And it is a violation of the provision of the OTR.
OTR. So they are liable for getting penalized for it.
Penalized for that.
Okay, what would be, sir? Generally, means is there anything which is decided? How means what would be the penalization?
Penalization is actually as per the BIS Act, the minimum amount what they have to pay is 2 lakh rupees, and the maximum up to 10 times of the value of the goods. This is the first on the first occasion. If in the second occasion, the amount will increase. So minimum 5 lakhs and up to maximum up to 10 times of the value of goods. And if there is also the provision for imprisonment also for the non-compliant manufacturer.
Thank you, sir.
After implementation of the OTR.
Of the OTR. So, any other questions anybody has?
There are questions, Smita, in the chat
Yes.
box. There are questions. Please share.
There are questions. Okay.
Shanmuga
That is
Kumar.
one question. One question we had, ma'am.
No, we
then
have Shanmuga Kumar. Chat box, you please see from Dr. Shanmuga Kumar.
Yes. So here he says, being a startup, we are doing a contract manufacturing and we sell to our clients. Now, who need to get the BIS for the machine? He's asking.
The startup, the manufacturer.
The manufacturer has to get it.
Yeah.
So, and I also happen to see that the person who is storing it, that means typically when they are importing it and they are storing it, they also will have to take this.
No, no, the only manufacturer will get the BI certification, but the person who is storing has required to ensure that the product which they are storing is BIS compliant or BIS certified.
Wonderful, sir.
Otherwise, penalty will also be applicable to the storer.
Storer also.
Yes.
So here that means the all means have been taken care of, where non-conforming product will not be out there in the market at all.
Yeah, the purpose of the purpose of bringing so many QCO by the government is so that the consumer will get the quality product or safe product.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. That's a very much a requirement in the Indian scenario. Yes. Yes, of course, with all this, we can expect the cost of the product to go a little high. Yes, naturally. I think so.
Maybe, ma'am.
Nika, can we
Yes.
ask
There
Mr.
is a, ma'am, if there is a
Please, ma'am.
compliance, then there is a cost. If there
Yes.
is a compliance, then there is a cost.
Absolutely, sir.
I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
I just would like to ask Mr. Ranjit Kumar to throw some light on the labeling norms briefly. Labeling norms for this, sir.
That, ma'am, if you see, most of time the labeling and marking requirement are the part of the Indian standards. The
Okay.
marking and labeling requirement are given in that. If you see the Type C standard, there is a provision for the labeling and marking. So it is already a part of the standard. Or if required, if required in future, if required, then product specific guideline can be issued. Because the regulation, our BIS conformity assessment regulation permit BIS to make any additional labeling and marking guidelines or requirements.
Does the standard specify on the contract manufacturing? I'm going back to Shanmuga Kumar's question. In the case of contract manufacturing, you mentioned that the manufacturer has to do it. So who is actually considered as a manufacturer there in the contract manufacturing? That specification also will be there?
Basically, ma'am, the person who is responsible for the quality, to maintain the quality of the machines and the manufacturer is the actual manufacturer. Because suppose if some other person who is not involved directly in the manufacturing process, who cannot control the quality of the product now, the quality of the control can only the quality of the product can only be controlled by the actual manufacturer who is manufacturing.
Theory sir has raised his hand. Sir, please proceed, sir. Anil Theory, sir. I could see two participants raising their hands.
Yes. And
Mahesh.
yeah,
Mahesh.
Mahesh sir also has raised
Yeah.
his hand.
Maybe it is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Anil sir.
now I
Yes.
can. Yeah, I was muted. No, I think the BIS certification is very clear. The actual manufacturer has to get certified, regardless of for who is manufacturing. I mean, it has been for long years. We have known people like Bajaj or big marketing companies. They have been getting manufacturing done by small manufacturers, and they had to get certified. That's it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mahesh sir?
Yeah, just to add in that, what Anil sir said, many a times contract manufacturing is done by different manufacturers, but the design is supplied by the owner company. Okay. Now, when this machinery regulation is coming up, in that the most of the design aspect is there. As far as my experience is there, when you design a safe machine, that is the responsibility of the designer. So there, I think if Mr. Ranjit Kumar can highlight like how, because manufacturer will do only the manufacturing as per the design submitted by his customer. So in that case, how the case it will be, because the technical documents required by BIS also includes the design documents, and anything which we manufacture always start with the design document.
Sir, the answer is very clear. the final machine, who is the manufacturer, who is the manufacturer of the final machine? Final machines, who is the manufacturer is actual manufacturer, and they have to take a BIS certification, not the designer, who is supplied to design to the any manufacturer, other manufacturer.
So if BIS finds any problem in the machine, the manufacturer will have to go back to the designer and tell him that there's a problem in your
Actually, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, so now manufacturer and the customer has to have some kind of NDA agreement, and the customer has to agree to give that design document to manufacturer, who in turn makes it a part of the technical documents and submit to BIS.
Correct. But tell me, how would a manufacturer manufacture without the design document? Will he not be
So,
given a design? Then only I can manufacture.
sir, many a times, like design calculations are not given. I will give you a size of this conductor to be used, but I will not tell why this conductor to be used. The size of gauge of that conductor. I will say, okay, you use this machine with this gearbox, but why this selection of gearbox? Maybe some, rights they will keep it with us. So that's not my experiences.
Ranjit can clarify, but I don't think BIS will actually verify or validate the design. It will only look at the final product, which is the machinery, and see that it is safe. And if it is not safe, it will tell the manufacturer you have to make it safe. And if needs change of design, manufacturer has to go back to the designer. I don't think even if you submit the technical documents, I don't think BIS is going to validate the design. My mind, but Ranjit can clarify. My own knowledge is old.
Yes, sir. Sir, Johari sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Ramaji, I think let's get on with the program, because this is going on, a long chat.
Yes,
This is, I can assure you, this question Ranjit Kumar will not be able to answer today. BIS will not have the answer today, because this is a very complex question and this will evolve over time. It is not so easy. It's not easy, I can assure you that. So let's get on. I would suggest this. It's, so yeah.
I agree. Well, we'll park this, but then there's a legal liability here, needs another conversation. We can park this for the time being. Please proceed, Smita.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was, yes, that was a very nice insight you gave us on this new OTR. So we move on to the next speaker, and we have with us Shri Anupam Kaul, founder and lead Verity Masters, Guild Mentor Quality Standards and Risk. And he's a graduate for metallurgical engineering from IIT Varanasi, has over 40 years of multifaceted experience in diverse quality-related disciplines, spanning manufacturing, quality, industrial quality control, inspection, certification, standard development, quality management systems, laboratory testing, accreditation standards, and service quality, business excellence, risk management, and so on. Member of BIS Certification Advisory Committee also, and the National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, BSI India Advisory Committee, and also have attended several other policy committees. And he currently provides consulting services to national institutions such as the RBI, CBEC, FSI, LBSNAA, EIC, Bangladesh Standards and Testing Institute, Nepal Bureau of Standards. Sir, warm welcome to you to share your insight onto the journey of this particular QCO.
Thank you, Smitaji. Thank you, Ramaji. I'm a little intrigued. When we actually pick up CVs from the net, it can go on quite long back. And this CV, I think, probably was good 10 years back. So yeah, that doesn't matter. Right, okay. So more relevant is what we are going to discuss today. And I'm observing, actually, since we don't have too many participants, can be a bit, to some extent, informal. And my apologies, Ramaji, I just got the invitation today morning. There was no way I could have actually prepared a PPT. But thank you still for inviting me. It's a very, very important topic and very dear to my heart, and for reasons that I'm going to now just speak on. So I just have a few thoughts today. Good thing is that Manoj and Mahesh God both are present in the panel today, and we are all partners in crime. When this OTR was being constructed at the DHI, we spent hours and hours working on this original draft. So that was almost, I think, about 5 years back. And good that they're here today, because they'll also bring in a lot of insight. My topic, as you have said, is to, trace the history of how this OTR got conceived. So, of course, but a bit of my career introduction. So I don't provide consulting services. All that you read on the screen is my past. I call myself a strategic advisor on quality and standards. So I advise primarily now industry bodies and consortiums. I and Mr. Jory both are working with the United Nations Climate Change Program. I do some work for the World Bank. So I also work with certain governments, both. I mean, India, of course, I was working very closely. Now the international ones as well, all on this subject, technical regulations, and as they apply to trade. And Ranjit is here today. I headed his department 20 years back, CMD1. So I had a long stint with the BIS, then with CII for about 15 years. And I'm on my own now. And I have a history on this, in the sense that all of us, I think Ramaji, probably you also, we all got together in 2015 when we actually started doing the standard conclaves. CIA and DOC and QCI and EIC, we all got together to do those. And several recommendations came from that. One of the things that CIA did at that point of time was to do research on the regulatory deficit particularly between Europe, US, and India. And then we came up with multiple subjects where we did not have the regulations and technical regulations in India. And the concomitant impact that it was actually having, that our industry was actually facing issues of market access in different countries, but our market was open, so anybody could bring in anything. So that became, in a sense, a purpose, an objective why we need to have the regulations. Before that time, the general consensus in the Indian government was that if we have anything is certified to a foreign standard, is good for India. We don't need to do any further certification, no regulations required. It was like this. So it took time for us to actually convince government through 2015 to 2017, through multiple forums, a lot of meetings in the ministry, in the Department of Commerce, some very good bureaucrats at that point in time were, keen on this. And because of that, ultimately, we could see the light of the day in having a regimen, as Mitaji mentioned earlier, about the technical regulations in India, which is coming up predominantly, of course, through BIS QCOs, but other regulators are also, they have done their own work. So Bureau of Energy Efficiency, and then, of course, the medical devices sector, and like this, so they are all coming up in their own sectors as well. So, but as we see, predominantly it has all been BIS. So even as far as this particular regulation is concerned, so we were actually tasked. One task was to propose the list for the QCOs. We worked again with Commerce, and the well-known list of 371 products was not products, HS codes, was prepared at Commerce and then given to 10 line ministries, and they started working for individual BIS standards related QCOs. So many of them, as we have the figure now, 750 have come up. That means addition of 500 since then. The other was to develop these omnibus regulations, as we call them. So we already, in a sense, at that time, medical devices was going through an omnibus kind of a treatment. Although before that, it was also very limited, just about 13 categories were there, but they had already decided to go in for complete range. So that was one omnibus. And the other two that was decided to work upon, one was this machinery safety, and the other one was on chemicals. Both, in a sense, borrowed as a concept from Europe. So Europe had a machinery safety directive 2006 onwards. And then, of course, on the chemicals, the ICA was there, and they had covered the entire range of chemicals under a very different kind of a regimen, not exactly standards conformance, but based on declaration of the properties and self-declaration kind of stuff. So so we drafted those and we gave it to the respective line ministries. The chemicals one is still languishing. It went through multiple iterations, and of course, there is still a draft available of Indian Chemical Management Safety Rules. We are trying hard to get it through. On machinery safety, we can say there is a half success. That means they're really very good. Eventually, government has come out, brought this QCO, is extremely important for India. Of course, from point of view of labor safety, no doubt about this, we have huge number of injuries and fatalities in India relating to machinery, especially in sectors like construction, mining, many others, metal cutting, agriculture, many of them. So from that point of view, absolutely essential that we have this. The other one, of course, also from competitiveness perspective, that now we have at least a regulation, and we do bilaterals, we can do MRAs, and we can restrict imports of anything that is coming into the country. So from that perspective also, this works very, very, very nicely. Good thing that BIS has done in the last, I think, a couple of years is to have that regulation that Ranjit talked about, the Scheme 10, which will supplement not only this particular product category, machinery, but will also supplement other similar product groups, which can go through similar kind of technical file and assessment, risk-based assessment. Even for that matter, toys also now are under actually in a way omnibus regulation. Across the board, all toys are covered. Maybe someday BIS can even consider bringing that in a Scheme 10, which might be probably a good idea to do that. So we have what we have here today, a regulation in place, QCO, with a time frame of 1 year, and they have identified 20 categories of machines. I think everybody here must have probably seen the Gazette notification. So it is, but now I'll just bring out some of the issues that are there. So when we drafted this regulation for the DHI, it was an actual omnibus regulation, an OTR. That what was coined for this regulation itself, OTR, the first time. And I am probably some of us coined this term, OTR. Omnibus means you cover everything. So we had the draft, and that actually had only exclusions. Exclusions for specific reasons. Specific reasons, for example, certain sectors are beyond our purview anyway. So nuclear, for example, atomic energy, for example, aviation, for example, shipping, for example, even automotive homologation related, product groups, they all already pre-excluded. So many of these were excluded, but otherwise it said that every machinery is covered. That's actually an omnibus regulation, like toys, we have no toys spared, everything is covered like this. And that is what we had proposed. We had also proposed somewhat similar to the European regulation. So they have two risk classifications from a point of view of conformity assessment. The first one is the CE mark, normal, you self-declaration. So you can prepare a technical file and submit, and you're good. The other one was a high-risk category, which required the involvement of a notified body like they have. And it actually involved assessment of the product and testing. So everything to do with the notified body. So two product groups were there. What we thought in India probably would we would have three classifications. So one was to go through self-declaration. The second one was where the product will get evaluated. And the third one, which is more critical, product plus the company's entire setup and every infrastructure will be at. So we prepared those three categories. And a lot of discussion took place at DHI, mind you. What I'm really narrating today is not just that we did it ourselves. We burned hours of midnight lamp oil with the DHI officials. We prepared a list of 700 different HS code-based categories, product by product, classifying the machines as per the risk. This one. So all was going very, very well with the DHI. But I think at the bureaucratic level, something happened. But because what we had envisaged there was to actually have a similar system as the medical devices, that a regulator will be actually installed, not what we have for regular QCOs. See, in regular QCOs, BIS can very well look after, there's not a problem. Standard by standard, there is a standard, you have to conform, it's like this. This regimen is risk-based. When it becomes risk-based, it involves a lot of other considerations. So it requires different kind of regulation. You need interpretations on a daily basis when it comes to this. So the ministry would not be able to do that, and whether BIS will be able to do that or not. So we proposed to have a regulatory body. We also proposed a system of notified bodies in India, not BIS, because BIS is already actually burdened with so much of, at that point of time, regulatory work, that we thought that we should need to have a separate regulatory body. That didn't work ultimately, as what happened in typical bureaucracy. So it ultimately, they had a discussion with BIS. They said BIS said we'll be able to do it. Fine. They trained their officers, and that's how what we have today. So not lamenting what really happened. And ultimately, what really will actually happen even now. So BIS doesn't have today, and Mohit Ranjit will bear me on that. They don't have the manpower anyway. So what they are doing currently, outsourcing. Outsourcing to whom? Certification bodies. That's what is happening, certification special bodies. It's happening anyway. So the same thing will actually happen through another route. That's what's going to happen. That will be good for the reason that many of these bodies who are working with the European regulations, for the European regulations on machinery safety, they have the experience already. So they will be able to actually give a lot of Mahesh here is actually is from one of the certification bodies. He's done a lot of hard work on this. He knows. I mean, there are many others who would be able to do that. So from that point of view, it is actually good. So what we have today, we don't really have an OTR. We have a list of identified 20 categories, which to my mind is actually going to present certain difficulties. For example, now we have included metal cutting machinery. We have included machinery for stone cutting, but we have not covered wood cutting machinery. Now, wood cutting machinery is not covered today. It is one of the high risk categorized category in the European directive. But whatever reasons. Now, what will happen? I have a drill machine. I can use it for metal. I can use it for wood. Now, so now the problem will come, who's going to tell me whether you have to cover it, you don't have to. In omnibus, it doesn't happen that way. So this problem is happening, I can assure you, into even normal products that are going through certification. Every day there is a problem of interpretation. Except for the steel ministry, no other ministry has set up a cell to alleviate these concerns of the industry. What they do is refer it back to the BIS. BIS will then organize a standards committee and they'll take a view, give it back to the ministry. It may take 4 to 5 months to give an interpretation today. Steel ministry has a better option. They have a meeting of 15 days. They can do it. So here, one of the issues is going to be, even if the DHI has not done this, regulatory body, they have not established, I think it will be extremely, extremely important that they really set up a cell which will be able to resolve these interpretational issues. For mines, for example, mines are covered by DGMS. Now, we don't have exclusion here, but mining equipment are covered in this particular regulation. Who's going to be whether it's going to mining regulation will apply or this IS 12100 is going to apply, we don't really know. So there are going to be difficulties. The question that arose just a little while ago on Ranjit was very right. I mean, he's come from that background from BIS. I'm also ex-BIS, Mr. Jory is. Obviously, it's the manufacturer who gets certified. But we have here a problem. The problem is, let's say I'm an API consultant. There is a plant to be installed, a food processing plant. This OTR includes filling and processing of food products. A plant is to be installed. There's not a single supplier. There is an API project consultant who's going to install the whole thing over there. Now, who's the manufacturer? Whether the unit which is getting it installed, because they are the owner, custodian, they're getting it installed, the project consultant, or maybe the principal supplier of the machinery, but not the entire thing. So it's complex. It's not going to be that much easy. That's why I said this question may not be possible to answer today. This will evolve over a period of time. We'll come with answers. We'll look at situations, and then probably we are going to find the answers and solutions to this one. So that's going to be there. Another question that will really arise at some point. Somebody asked a question, what about existing machinery? Obviously, it's not going to be certified. It's already supplied. But let's say a certified machinery has been supplied and it goes through a major overhaul or a repair. Now what? Who's going to be the certified for that machine? That's the question again. Machines can also be refurbished and supplied. So whether there's going to be, so the questions remain. We don't have the answers today. I can assure you nobody has the answer. And it's all right not to have the answer today. Those answers will come over a period of time. Let's give ourselves time to work on this. It's an omnibus in a sense. So a huge amount of work. The extent of volume of work, how much it is. Before this, I just did one query. How many machinery manufacturers, SMEs are there in Delhi? 8,000. Just Delhi. Now you can multiply that across the country. How many? Huge volume. It is not possible for a single agency to be able to work and to come out with answers for everything. This is going to, so 1 year time, which has been given, no go, no way, just not possible. Simple QCOs have gone through extensions up to 3 years, even more. BIS has had experience of leather, furniture QCO is now lying pending for 1.5 years now. They're still working on the standards again. So this will also happen. 1 year, I don't see is any possibility. What BIS probably can do is to start the certification and encourage the organized industry to come forward for voluntary certification in this period, key and experience. So that's going to be a very important step. We have a huge amount of issues with the OTR as it is there today. 20 categories. I don't know who drafted it. They have included parts and components there. Can you imagine single part? How do you certify it for safety? It's going to get fitted into a machine. So what happened in the European regulation? They also had parts and components, but those are those parts and components that become a type. That's a type B addition to a machine to provide an additional safety factor, like a guard, for example. You put a guard on a chain sprocket arrangement on a machine. That guard is a component or a part which is certified because it's going to play a particular function. Here in the OTR, they just said copy the HS codes and exact verbatim the HS code description. So it include parts, components, everything. So it's no go, no way. So we had a meeting with BIS, I think 1 week back, and they acknowledged that there are issues in this one. So what, as consultants, probably as industry, what we need to do is to actually go through threadbare on the OTR. One is for these anomalies that they need to be removed. There is a number 13 listing in the OTR, which ultimately says not machinery not covered elsewhere in the chapter 84. Now, what does that mean? That means now it actually makes it OTR, omnibus. So they didn't mean that, obviously not. They didn't mean that. There was something probably else that was meant. So there are those kind of difficulties that will have to be removed. Some of the chapter 87 products probably will need to be considered. Woodworking, I'm quite sure, I think they should really cover. Compression molding machines have been excluded. I mean, one of the most, I think, accident-prone areas are those, they have not been covered. So there are many, we must look at those risk categories that Europe has. They have 10 or 11. And some of them are covered, certainly, metal and all is covered, and construction is covered. But there are many others. Forestry products are not covered. The wood cutting products of forestry, which are very important ones, are also not. It is a separate category. So those pesticide machinery is covered there, not covered here. So some of them are important that we need to. So that is one action that we need to take, is to do that, and that BIS will not do themselves. This is a job of the industry, of consultants, to actually work on this. And that's what I suggest, that we all need to get together to do that one. The second work that we need to do is that this is, again, a very new and complex area for most industries to be able to comprehend. Given we have so much of MSMEs, it will be way beyond them to even understand what is a design aspect in a machine to cover risks of safety and to add safeguards and all those stuff. If you have a Type C standard, easy to follow. Everything is prescribed there. Testing is possible. So there is no brain to be applied there. You just have to do the compliance and conformance. In a Type A and Type B, you have to discover the risks first. You have to lay it down on the table and say, these are the potential risks of my machine. And therefore, this is what the design feature I have been built into it. These are the safeguards I'm putting there, and therefore I'm making it safe. So that's not going to be easy. It's not possible for mechanical press manufacturer in Mayapuri or somebody in Derabasi who is making a metal cutting machine to be able to do that themselves. So as consultants, our first job should be not unit by unit, but we must look at machinery categories, and we must come out with these technical files for these machines, model technical files for the machines, for categories of these kind of machines. You can start with the hydraulic press, you can start with a milling machine, turning machines, and even CNCs and or compressors and generators and all of that stuff. So for each category, we must start working on them. I mean, it doesn't mind. I mean, we can share that information. It can become proprietary. You can sell it. It doesn't matter which way, but that's what will need to be done to take it forward. And once we have those, probably that will become the basis for subsequent training and consulting of the industry. Once the technical files are available, only then it will be possible to go forward. Otherwise, we'll just be talking generalities, and that won't really help. So we need to become a bit more specific. BIS 2 comes with a document called product manuals, which they do for every standard that goes under certification. Because machinery is again going to be an assortment of so many types of machines, probably they will also need to build those product manuals category by category. So that's another step, and we can certainly help BIS into. I'm sure Ranjit will welcome that. He's here representing BIS. So we will be able to do that. I and Mr. Jory also represent a body called RRMA. So I hope you are, that's Regulatory Representative Managers Association. We work in regulatory sector, and we right now work in chemicals, but machinery safety is the item next. So we do intend to create a body of work there, which we hope will be available free of cost to everyone. So we do this, host it there, and then make it available. So that's another area. So I think that's what I wanted to say. I didn't have a presentation, sorry about this. Just wanted to share a few thoughts. Thank you very much. I'm prepared to take answers, questions now.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Thank you.
it was good you did not have a presentation. Otherwise, you would have not shared so many. You would be limited, isn't it? So this was a wonderful lucid talk what we had. And yes, so many questions as you were part of the whole, the creation of that particular OTR. And I think many of us had a lot of questions on it, and which you yourself has posed, and also you have shown, you have also shown what are the loopholes of this particular OTR, like any other regulation or compliance what comes out. I think only after implementation we will get to know, and we will be fine tuning it. So
Of course.
it
Of
will
course.
not be a
Yes.
static, it will be a
Oh,
very
yeah.
dynamic one.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Right.
and you
Yeah.
also highlighted the fact that, yes, as consultants, as facilitators, I think there's a huge job out there for them to understand and hold hands to all the MSMEs to understand this and onboard them. So, thank you very much. Yes,
Of course.
yes, anybody has any questions? Ma'am, do you have any question?
I will ask Anupamji, maybe please keep that in your mind. In fact, when I called for the session, I have invited financiers also to be part of this, because there's a lot of lending happening on the industrial machinery.
Excellent.
Some of us know this, okay? How do we ensure that they lend to the machineries which have got this legal licenses and all that? So this is something which maybe somewhere, that's something to do with your lending financial regulations, totally different, but these are interconnected.
Yeah, but one thing which is there, Ramaji, so I was talking to somebody yesterday who exports machinery to Europe and to different parts of the world. So they comply with the EU regulations, but when I asked very pointedly, so I said no, the compliance is only for the exports. If you do the same thing for India, cost will go up. So as far as cost is concerned, he says the designs are different, and design, if you add those, cost goes up.
So here, at least when the lending happens, they need to ensure that when they are funding and lending in, okay, to be towards the machineries which are certified and covered.
Yeah, of course. That they can do.
That gap is actually there. So somewhere we need to involve that NBFCs and RBIs and all of them into this conversations, or at least an advisory should go to them, that all the banks should go. Otherwise, that linkages never happen. They don't look into all this. So they end up in lending and funding to all this. The industrial machinery is very high investments actually. So, and then, without license, something gets funded and it's in the system. We are already seeing this in the medical devices, medical equipments, questions being asked in the services sector, which are using this equipment. So how come the illegal, unlicensed ones are coming into the facilities is a question that is being asked repeatedly. So I just want you all to keep this in your mind and see how to address this appropriately.
We'll do that. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thanks.
So we need to include the CAs also.
Very
Yes.
true.
Yes. Anil Jory sir, you have raised your hand.
No, must be the old one.
Old one. Okay, sir. Okay. So thank you very much, sir. Once again, that was very nice, a nice eye opener to the OTR. So we move on to the next speaker. So we have Shri Mahesh Gaur with us, and sorry, our next speaker is Mr. Manoj Belgaonkar. Sorry. Yes. So, Shri Manoj Belgaonkar heads regulation, standards, and quality management in Siemens Limited. And he has been working with Siemens since 1993 and has had different roles in business excellence, productivity improvement, quality, regulations, and standards. So he is a fellow of the Institute of Engineers and has a master's of business administration in finance and system management and bachelor's in electronics and telecommunication engineering from University of Pune, India. Sir, we would be looking forward to hearing from you on the industry perspective, that means how is it you will be taking as an industry who is a manufacturer? Over to you, sir.
Okay,
Welcome.
thank you. So already as Anupam said, we are working on this, or we were working on this since I think 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Because as the, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes. We
Yeah, okay, just putting it
full
on the full screen.
mode.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will not cover everything, but yeah. So first draft, as he rightly said, was in 2020, then 2022, but now it's there, and it's a huge step, if you ask me, in the next step to make it comparable with global regulation. Of course, we still have challenges because HSN codes are linked. Nowhere in the world regulations are linked to HS codes, and that gives a lot of confusion because the descriptions are wider categories and wherein the standards are for a specific topic. So how do we link these two things? So that's one of the actually challenge. Also, these guidebooks is a key part which are yet to be prepared. But the most important part is testing. There is a, because these are machines and they are not they cannot be tested in a standard testing lab. So how do we put this kind of a testing infrastructure in place? Maybe at manufacturers level, maybe at some other level. So these are some of the challenges. And lastly, is awareness with SME is actually low for sure. So these are some of the current challenges. But at the same time, this is really going to give a good, I will say, making the machine safer. I remember that time DG Fastly was also part of one of these discussion, and it was quite surprising to know 150,000 accidents happen on the shop floors, and many of them are due to these faulty machines or faulty usage or machines not being safe. So that's the kind of extent to which this regulation is going to help. And this is where many consultants, they have to work with these SMEs to make sure that these products are safe. Somehow they have a misconception that by putting the safety devices or safety measures, the cost will go up. I remember in one of the meeting, one of the association was saying our cost will go up by at least 25% and we'll go out of business. But in reality, it will not be so high, maybe not more than 5, 6, 8, 9%, because the level of automations are also low. And from that point of view, it will not really change their cost so drastically. Another important development which happened between 2020 and now is Scheme 10 released by BIS, because this was quite important for this kind of a risk-based assessment, that there is a design which has to be verified, but along with that, manufacturer's own test setup also can be used because these are machines and they cannot be tested in a standard lab outside. So from that point of view, Scheme 10 actually creates a huge, I will say, platform for such kind of a regulation to go further. And again, many consultants are also not fully aware the extent to which Scheme 10 talks about what are the proof of conformity, etc., etc. But at the same time, currently, industry associations are that's where engaged with members to understand and collect the issues. Like I was talking about this HS code based descriptions. So the specific product may not be covered because it is just under the HS code. Maybe just to give one example, our traction converters which are used in railways, they use the same HS code, but they have a different standard and they're controlled by railways. But at the time of import, maybe customers may not know about it. And that's where we need to have a committee in BIS, in ministry, to actually give this clarification which are really faster. Many of the type test standards are chosen are old or they're not yet up to date. So from that point of view, also we need to choose type test standards. They wanted to keep as general as possible, but when we go with respect to specific testing, the generalized type test standard will not help. So you have to go for a specific type test standard. Also identify the test labs, especially since it takes time to create a test lab infrastructure in India. So how to accept the old test reports, maybe done in India, global, etc. So we also need to understand some of these requirements along with labeling requirements as well. In terms of certification, like I was talking about some of these products which are not under this code. how do we get the no objection certificate? Yeah. Maybe if, in one of the meeting, MHI did clarify that parts and components for which there is no separate type test standard available, they are automatically exempted. But how do you do that? Because the HS code remains the same. And how do we seek this clarification? What is the process involved with respect to this? Also, with respect to the stage-wise inspection, because this scheme 10 talks about approval at design stage, then manufacturing stage, and based on the case, it may also be done at installation stage, especially if it is a certificate of conformity. So how do you do that? Because this is now going to add one more step in between the whole product development or machine development part. So how do we have a simplified process so that there is a transparency for manufacturer, how much time it is going to need for this topic? Another aspect is how do we do certification over the forward value chain? Because again, being HS code, it may remain the same. Again, I'm coming from my example. So HS code of product remains the same. When it is put into cabinet, it remains the same. And when it is used by OEM, also remains the same. Now, how do we differentiate this particular certification as part of this, I will say, differential value addition throughout this chain? We did speak about upgrading, refurbishment, retrofit, but also many times the case will come where we put two machines together and connected with a conveyor. Now, these three machines put together itself becomes a new machine. So imagine there is a soap making machine which is getting put into a packaging machine, and they are two connected with a conveyor. So all these three put together itself becomes a third machine because they have to synchronize with each other. So how do we also define such kind of a norms? But as Anupam said, they will get evolved over a period of time. We're not looking at answers today, but we also need to look at it. License of conformity, especially for the certification of own design and outsourced manufacturing, because here the liability will be covered by the designer, not by the manufacturer. And this is where also we need to understand how this particular case can be dealt as part of license of conformity. And lastly, another key point, most of the government tenders, they ask for spare parts availability post end of life up to 10 years. Yeah. Now, how do we deal with that? So today the product is already end of life, but I want to import this product and to provide a service. Say like Delhi Metro or many of the railway, they expect product to be available up to 15 years, the spare parts. So how do we also deal with some such topics? So these are some of the issues which we have to go through this. So I will not go into this 12,000 part, but these are some of the risks. Again, only one part which I want to cover here. Currently, these are the 10 types of hazards which are covered as part of the machine evaluation. But already the standard is under revision, and there are two more topics they are trying to add. One is AI and cyber security. So how are you going to also deal with such hazards? Today they are dealt via combination. So yeah, I think this is already covered. So these are the next steps, and this is last from my side. Yeah. So I think they are the next steps which manufacturers can do till the OTR is there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So that was the pain points of the industry is what you could see, and which has to, of course, we'll have to find answers to this. So it starts with designing and ends with testing also. So that is a complete life cycle has to be talked about, and also when you have a complex, setups, integration of many machineries. So that also, and also when we are buying, the second hand or the third hand or extended life kind of machineries also. So thank you very much, sir, for the insight on that. And yes, of course, the journey starts. And then we have one more speaker out here. Any questions? Sorry, any questions? Anybody who would like to ask any questions on this? I think we'll wait for August 2025 onwards, we will ask questions, isn't it? Okay.
Can I ask a simple question, Manojji, just quickly, because since you're representing the industry, what is the response from the industry? How did the industry receive this?
Yes.
Because Delhi itself has about 8,000 plus manufacturers. Is there a data throughout the country? How many such machinery manufacturers are there which will be covered under this? Size may be small, micro, large, medium. So with a 1 year's timeline, I was reading myself before this program announcement, and then there's a lot of industry subject matter experts feedback that 1 year is not sufficient and all that. So I was just wondering, what is the response of the industry? Is the industry ready to implement this?
Not at all. Not at all. The European Union came up to this level over 20 years, not 1 or 2 years. Yeah, and that's where, as part of our initial recommendation, we had said at least 5 years should be given for the implementation part of it. Of course, ministry did indicate that they will consider extensions, but we will see how these extensions actually evolve. But from industry side, those who are already exporting to Europe, etc., they are very well aware. They are very well prepared for this, especially the machine tool industry, injection molding, etc. But they also have sometimes a differential machines, because the machines sold in India need to be cheaper. So some of these aspects they're not included as part of it. So they have to also educate in a big way their own customers as well. Yeah, and that's a huge challenge at this point of time. That how do we educate our customers so that they consider value, that safety as a value. Yeah, and this is the key part of this whole topic.
True, sir.
When we do have rely on the minimum standards implementation in the country, this is something which we keep talking regularly in all the forums. But with so much of minimum standards that are being introduced, it's not about micro, small, or medium, or large. By and large sector compliances and regulatory norms compliances is actually not challenging for them, because those structures are totally different. Even the medium sector doesn't fit into most of this compliances, and micro and small definitely it's going to be very, very tough and challenging. And from a minimum standards to an omnibus, I do wonder whether the 5 years is also sufficient for the Indian scenario.
Absolutely not. Let me give one example. I was doing assessment for one of the factory, and which is a large scale tier 1 OEM of an automobile company. And he showed me, now I'm talking from digital transformation, because he was showing me about the implementation of some IoT framework on his shop. So he was making doors for one of the car, and they were making about 5 doors per minute. Yeah, it's a press, it's an industrial press where you put the sheet inside and you make a door. Right? And then he showed me, now we have done this change, and now it can make 7 doors per minute. Yeah. He also showed me that we have put now 2 cameras up there, and they actually capture. This was just post-COVID. So they capture if the 2 operators, they're close to each other within 6 feet, immediately it takes photograph and sends it to his supervisor that they have violated the safety, whatever that COVID norms, etc., etc. So one of the questions to me was, why do you want to penalize them? Because the fault lies with you. The layout remains the same. The area around remains the same. Just imagine, since you want to make 7 doors per minute, the inventory, raw material inventory has gone up. The finished good inventory has gone up on the same layout. Now they have no space to move around. So they will be forced to come to each other. Yeah. But you are going to penalize them because they are close to each other. So how will they work? Because you need to re-layout this when you are going to increase the speed. And this is where, in the context of digitalization, many of these topics will become very relevant. Maybe I'll give another example. Say you are putting a robot and there is some patch, a software needs to be updated, cybersecurity patch, and which was not done. And now robot malfunctions, and it is now trying to take a good from one place to another place, and then suddenly it stops in between. Now what happens to that item which it has picked up, and it is still in the air? So it is going to fall down. So these are the many safety aspects. So my point is, even large scale industries are not there. In fact, in one of the, again, a multinational company, I was doing an assessment where the soap example which I gave, and what he had done was he had put a huge fan next to the line. Actually, why have you put it? No, if the soap making machine, if it runs out of that liquid, then there will not be any soap coming out of it. and the box in which the soap should go, they will still pack it. And in my final assembly, I'll get a empty box with there is no soap, because I will have a legal metrology challenge. So to blow those empty boxes, he has put a fan. Now, and he has created now another hazard. Because that person now, he has to be mindful of that huge fan which is just behind him. So my point is, many of these modifications also happens on the line, and this is where also this is important. So educating the customers themselves that how do you look at these topics. So this is actually a huge challenge, and that's where, yes, you're right, 5 years also may not be sufficient, but somewhere we need to make a beginning.
How ready is your supply chain? Yes, you're a finished good manufacturer and you have to embrace all this, but is your supply chain also a kind of, it has to be in alignment with this, right? Because they're part of your ecosystem.
No, we give a technology to make this safety happen to the machine manufacturers.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm talking about the finished good manufacturer, when they have to address all this safety related equipments and make them.
They find it costly. No, that's
Their
exactly.
supply
Just to
chain,
give you
their supply chain readiness.
just to give you an example, if a new automotive plant is put in Europe, the automation cost is roughly 40%. If the same plant is put in India, automation cost is about 9 to 10%. So that's how that's where the education starts, even with the large scale industries also, about this topic.
You need to reinvest and then refocus on all these things. Interesting.
Absolutely.
I mean, that we are thinking that, at least large will fit into this. It looks like obviously even they will have challenges. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful insights, Manoj.
There is a lot of implied needs or requirements which has to be understood, and I think a lot of time and effort and money has to be spent on the awareness, how to understand this and how do I implement it, right? So I think it has to be that life cycle has to be followed, that all the stakeholders have to be made aware of it. It is not only the manufacturer, I think the complete supply chain. I think everybody, including the person who comes and certifies them, needs a lot of handholding and a lot of mentoring out there. Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. So we move on to the last of our speakers today. And yes, we are more interested to know that, yes, down the line, all the speakers were talking about that we already have foreign regulations, the European regulations, which has taken care of all this, right? Now, how do we understand these two aspects is what our next speaker, Shri Mahesh Gaur sir, would be talking to us, sharing his knowledge on this. He's the managing partner of Prazamana, electrical engineer with 30 plus years, with 21 years in TUV India, TUV Nord Group, Germany, and expert in CE marking, ETEX certification, and ISO 9001 auditor with more than 15 years of experience in hazardous atmosphere. He was trained in Germany in 2009 for CE marking and ETEX certification. Audits, he has performed audits in India, Germany, China, and Japan for CE marking and ETEX certification, and certified clients for machinery, LVD, and EMC directives in India for exporting to the EU, European Union. Prazamana is a consultancy company involved in consulting and training service to industries for various machine safety compliances. And he has a team of functional safety engineers who facilitate this. Sir, we are looking forward to your insight. Welcome. Sir, you're mute. You're mute, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Smitaji, and thank you for this opportunity to give my thoughts on the regulations, EC regulation. I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know once the screen is visible to all.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You can make, yeah, it's in the slide, so yes.
Yeah. So I think many of the points are covered by Anupamji and Manojji, and as he said, we are into 2019. There was a lot of discussion happening on this regulation coming up as a quality control order for machinery directive for machineries in India. So with so much discussion, the slides, what I have prepared is mainly for the European regulations where my expertise is, because I worked for TUNOT for a very long time as a certifying body, also as a notified body. Now I'm into consultancy of maybe similar field, you can say, in machine safety. Also, we are a manufacturer of safety fences, which are mainly used in robotics and automations and conveyor, where robots need to be separated with people. So we manufacture that. So notified body, consultancy, and manufacturers, and everything is connected to this. I can say OTR. So with the time limitation, I think. I would ask you whether I should go for a detailed CE marking presentation, which will be a lot of time taking, or should we discuss more of a comparison of my experience on EU regulation and on this machinery directive, and some points which I want to answer, or maybe I can extend what Anupamji and Manojji has said. So
Absolutely, sir. Yes.
CE marking detailed presentation may not be required. The next two ones, your experiences and some comparative notes may help.
Yes,
See,
yes.
this is all this QCO, we all know it's for the domestic sector.
Correct,
And
correct.
so sometimes the same manufacturer may go global, so their experiences may be a little different. But somebody who's
Absolutely.
catering to the domestic market, when they want to be part of the global supply chain, provided there's an opportunity, they may still want to understand a little about all this. Your experiences and some comparative notes will really help, is what I personally feel.
Yes, so I will quickly go through
Yeah.
a bit on CE marking and then maybe that
Yes,
comparison note.
Yes.
Just about my company, like Prasmana is a bit difficult word to say, but actually it's a Sanskrit word which means keeping safe, and we are completely into machine safety. I would say we are not into any other activities, and we strongly believe this OTR will really help our Indian customers and users. Okay. So I think regulation, everybody knows what exactly regulation is. So I'm just skipping something. So mainly CE marking stands for conformity European, which means European conformance. So when we say a product is CE certified, that means it is complying or meeting the requirements of the European Union. It's a mandatory and a regulatory requirement which needs to be done, like what we are talking about the BIS since last few hours. And also it's not a mark of quality actually. So when a CE mark machine is supplied to Europe, suppose it shut down after 5 days or 10 days, there is no matter or there is no question against the CE marking. But there is an accident after 5 years also running the machine. Then there will be a question asked why the machine was, whether it was done properly CE marked or not. Yes, if it is a failure on efficiency or in the productivity, that is not concerned when we call it as a CE mark product. So mainly it talks about the safety of humans, animals, and the environment where the product is running, and it helps product to move within EU. So one country within EU can export to other country. That also needs a CE marking, and if any company, any country which is exporting to Europe, that also needs a CE mark product. These are the basic essentials or elements of CE marking, which includes directives, harmonized standard, essential health and safety requirements, compliance procedures, technical file, EC declaration of conformity, and CE marking. So these directives are actually, legislative acts which are issued by European Union. And they majorly form what are the complete requirement of a particular category of products. So for machinery, there will be a different directive. For toys, there will be different. For lifts, there are different directives. And with these directives, there is another, guidebook, which I think Anupam ji was also referring, that a guide not need to be prepared, because if a directive is of say 50 pages, the guide is running into 400 pages. So each line of a directive is explained in detail, so there is no confusion. So what Anupamji was saying about setting up a separate cell to answer these questions. So somewhat exercises done by European Union is to plan a detailed guide which is issued when regulation or directive is issued, that helps the user or the customers to understand directive in detail, and then they implement it. Of course, EU directives have a legal standing. So there are different directives. As I said, there are some general product directive, there are some categorically wise products directive, and some are particular product specific directive, like as I said, toys, medical devices, machineries, pressure equipment products. With each directive, it covers mainly all different requirements of essential health and safety requirement and conformity as well. So in each directive, there is a detail given how a product can be CE marked. Harmonized standard, same, the way BIS has published some of the standards. Likewise, there are European standard, which are EN standard, European norms we call it. And for basic risk assessment, it is ISO 12100, which will get revised, as Manoj also said, shortly, covering the new requirement. Because the latest machine, not latest, I would say, the current machinery directive is under revision. Now it is becoming a regulation, which will be implemented in next 2-3 years of time. So now industry will gear up, and by 27, they will be, everybody need to upgrade their products or machineries as per the new regulation. Okay, this is already covered. I think EHSR everyone knows, that's I'm not. So conformity assessment is, there are different ways of doing a CE certification. Like one, for low risk products, it can be self-certified. So you can meet your own requirement of directives, and then you can declare your product is CE certified, and then you issue a declaration of conformity. In some high risk machines, so normally in machinery directive, there is a separate category of machine, which is annexure 4 machine we call, that says that you need to involve a notified body, which is a competent authority in Europe, who can verify whether the design is completely as per the requirement, and then they issue a EU type certification, and then regular production can be done with some yearly audits involved in it. Technical documentation, actually, it's a proof of CE marking, I would say. Whatever process the manufacturer has applied, that manufacturer's process is completely written on this, including all the design, test data, what kind of products they have used, what kind of safety critical components they have used, and how they are ensuring that this machine is safe and will be safe till the life of the machine. And it covers the complete life cycle of the machine, right from installation, or I would say from design, installation, safety aspects, then till dismantling and disposal. So the directive also asks that how this product need to be disposed. That also need to be covered in the product manual, which Anupamji also suggested that yes, we should develop some manuals for some category of machines that will really help the manufacturers also and end users also. Okay, so design is definitely a part of requirement of technical file, and there are many other test reports and quality system documentations. So declaration of conformity is actually a document which manufacturer signs or the top management signs, which they give a declaration that my product is CE marked under so and so directives and standards. One point which I want to highlight, like in European Union, they differentiate two types of machine. One is a complete machine which can operate on their own, and second category is a partly completed machine. So partly completed machine is like it is an assembly of 2-3 machines, and then it is made as a complete machine, and then it is given. So I can buy one component, say a motor from one company, I can buy another pump from another company, and then when I join it together, I can say it's a pump set, which is a complete machine. But earlier, it will be only a partly completed machine. And on partly completed machine, CE marking is not allowed, because if they run it along with the motor, there is a chance of an accident if proper risk assessment is not done in this. Okay, C plus C is not C. So it's a confusion between many that if I buy 2 CE mark components, and if I make an assembly, then automatically the third one, the final assembly, becomes a CE mark product. That is wrong, because when you assemble 2 different products, then there's another assessment need to be carried out. And based on that assessment, the final assemble company need to certify that whether it is a CE mark product complying to all the applicable directive or not. Risk, anyways, risk is a high market risk, financial risk, and also the criminal sanctions in case of a wrong CE marking done or not very well done. Okay, I'm just skipping this. Yeah, so this comparison, it's based on my understanding I've made. So as you all know, EU regulation is for Europe, OTR is for India. Scope is, it is covering wide range of machinery. In this specific case, in OTR, there are some specific machines are covered, and many high risk machines are not covered. So my personal point of view is that many high risk machines should be covered first and then other, because that helps in reducing the accident chances. And purpose, again, it is safety compliance on both the end. Regulatory framework, like as I said, there are directives, various directive, machinery, toys, PED, ATEX directive, which is mainly for the explosion proof, and in this case it's BIS. In conformity assessment, there is a possibility where it is self-certification and a notified involvement is possible under EU regulation, but in OTR case, it will be only BIS. And essential requirement, it is each directive, very detailed, they have mentioned what are the essential health and safety requirements for each category of directives they have mentioned. And in this case, it is mainly against Indian standard. In European Union, when you do a CE marking, use of harmonized standard is optional. You need the main requirement is to meet the directive requirement, not the standard requirement. But yes, the standard do help in meeting the directive requirement. If there is a availability of a type C standard, it makes life easy. If the type C standard is not available, then really it is a tough task for a manufacturer, especially in MSME, to understand the requirement of, say, a type A standard or a type B standard, or how to implement it. But type C can, line by line, they can say, and they can follow it. Implementation timeline is really big in case of an directive, European Union directive. They give enough time. But yes, as we understand in BIS case also, it will get further extended, because covering, because in India still for safety, we are not having that knowledge. Especially it is not covered in college, not maybe I would say not school, not college, or maybe in industry also, there is a lack of safety awareness. So that is one of the things which we need to really work on. And as I said, high risk categorization is very specific in machinery directive, where there is no such provision in this case. Okay, there is a way forward. I feel we need to have more awareness and training sessions or education program for each stakeholder. That is one of the important point. And also a collaboration is required with feedback mechanism, which can definitely evolve the current OTR. And as in previous discussion, we already had discussed that this is just a beginning, and it's a good beginning, and definitely it will take more time to really get into the real shape. Robust regulatory framework, yeah. So maybe we need more clear guidelines on enforcement. So making a separate cell really helps in this, and to regularly review and update our standards or our requirements. That will be a requirement. Support for SME, I think there is some subsidy or some concession is already, as Ranjitji suggested, there is there. So I think that is a good step. Yeah, market surveillance in Europe, it is good. In India also, I think how the surveillance activity will be performed, that we'll see in the case-to-case basis in future regulations. That's all. I think, yeah, that's all from my side. I've just quickly completed my presentation. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. That was wonderful. Yes, we saw that it is EU regulations are all well defined, and as even Manoj sir was mentioning, it has evolved through 2 decades. So I think the similar is what we can expect, because ours is a huge nation and a lot of people, and the MSME is too big out here. Yes, and yes, as a culture, quality and safety as a culture has to be inculcated from from school level. Yes, has to be. And categorization based on the risk. Yes, of course, if they could categorize, or they could pick up those handful of like listed companies and implement this in the supply chain, maybe that can also give them how effective this particular OTR is. I don't know. Yes, it is difficult. Beginning a game changer kind of a regulation we have got, which is of course going to, you know,
I guess your voice is lost actually. Smita, are you there?
easy because they already have a guide and other things to follow, and you can also, you have a step for self-assessment also. This is going to be tougher in comparison.
Sorry, Smitaji, I lost you in between. There was some, the network
Okay.
connectivity issue at
I
your
think
end.
so.
So can you,
Yes.
are you asking me a question? So if you,
Yes,
can
yes.
you
So
please
I
repeat
was,
it?
now I'm audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you compare these two standards, of course, this is quite raw. I mean, it is still in its, it isn't, it has just come out. When you see both these regulations, easier to be implemented, understood and implemented?
Again, there
We
was
lost
some.
you. Actually, your voice. Maybe you can turn off the video, Smita, for some time.
Yes.
Better.
My question was with the EU regulations, this OTR regulation to understand and implement?
Smita, actually, you can post it in the chat box. I guess it's better because your voice is cracking.
Yeah, I guess she's asking whether EU regulation is easier to implement compared to the Indian OTR. Am I right, Smitaji?
Yes.
Like easy and difficult, I would not say. Like I would say, EU regulations are also not easy if you don't understand the safety aspects. If you understand the safety aspects, definitely it is much easier. That is why people who are exporting or who are doing the first time CE marking, if they know each and everything about CE, the safety aspects, or they have already designed based on their research on the products, then it is very easy. But if a first time goer who is doing the CE marking first time, it is a bit difficult at initial stage. But yes, with guidance, with proper education, they can do it, and then once done, then they can definitely implement for all their product ranges, or maybe for all other lines of products also. It is not difficult, I would say. It is easy. Only the risk assessment part is the most important point. And if you do a right risk assessment, you are through. If you are missing something out of that risk assessment, then you are gone. That is a problem. So you should have the expertise to understand the technical language of the standards, because I read a standard and you read a standard, definitely there will be a different view. Then we should both sit together, because based on my experience, I always say to my team member, everybody read it separately and then come to discuss the same clause, then you will have more clarity on the standards. So that is why those guidebooks actually helps, because directive, if you see, these are of more of a legal language, and some difficult words to understand, and then guide helps them to make life little easier. And then if they know some experts who can help them, then it is very easy to do. But yes, now in India, a lot of customers or a lot of manufacturers are exporting to European Union, and there's a lot of awareness on CE marking. I believe in next 3-4 years, we will definitely have for our say. So the people or the manufacturer who are already doing CE marking, for them it is very easy to get this BIS certification as per Scheme 10. But for new people who don't have a safety in the design, because I always say safety should be in the design, then the product will automatically be a safer product. So yes, there will be some challenges, but I will say we will overcome those challenges.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to, Smita, are you finished? I mean, are you fine? Can I ask a question?
Yes. Please, ma'am, go ahead.
On the topic of market surveillance, who does the market surveillance under EU regulations? For example, is it the same regulator who's giving you the licensing or CE marking approvals? Who does the market surveillance?
No. So in CE marking, the certification, or they have appointed many notified bodies. Okay.
Right.
So those notified bodies issue the CE certificate.
Right.
again, those notified bodies have, some kind of accreditation also. So in some, they have separate bodies, or they are mainly the government bodies who does the surveillance. Notified body cannot do their own, set of surveillance. And also they monitor the complaints. So there was a big case, one of very big notified body in Europe. They have certified some medical products. It was especially a breast implant was that, and there was a lot of complaints coming from the users that it is affecting their health and it is getting it is not working fine. And then a detailed actually it goes into the court of law, and then a detailed study was done, and then there was some outcome of this thing which I don't want to discuss here. But then the product was really defective. They have changed the raw material in this, which really affected those ladies. And then there was a very, very heavy penalty on notified body and the manufacturer both. So in European Union, if there is something wrong, which is certified by a notified body, then notified body is also penalized. Why you have, certified this product? And also the notified takes a back-to-back insurance also from the insurance companies. Because again, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of processes. If something is failed, to safeguard their financial position, they also take insurance also.
Indemnity, yeah.
Yes.
No, there's actually market surveillance is not from the notified body. I wanted to understand, okay, they have issued the certifications are independent, but they have a system of approving all this. So there is an EC. So I want to understand whether who does the market surveillance. So it's independent government bodies.
Always,
independent government
always,
bodies, and also
always the government body.
Then they also publish the list in the website. You can check from some of the website which all products which are imported in Europe are banned now, because a customer may not know whether this is a banned product or it is coming through some different ways imported to European Union. So they publish publicly also that these products are banned because of so and so issue. So customer are made more aware. I would say, like, for example, in India, the use of airbag in cars was made mandatory just a few years before. But in case of Europe, it is there is no possibility. Earlier we had a choice. We can buy a car with airbag and without airbag. But in Europe, you cannot have this thing, which is now in India also. So yeah, definitely after a few years, we will be definitely equivalent to them in future.
But purpose of asking that question is in our country, actually, we hang on to this licenses and approvals so much, and we let go of the market surveillance. But what is actually needed is a little bit of flexible. When I say flexible, lenient, I'm not talking about compromising. It's easy licensing process and approvals, provided they have all those structures in place or systems in place. But then market surveillance has to be very stringent. Fortunately, it's the other way around. There's no market surveillance at all. It's not at all happening. So this conversations we keep having regularly in many forums, who should do the market surveillance?
Yeah, so that is, I agree with you. So market surveillance is definitely should be implemented. And I also feel there should be a feedback mechanism or maybe some kind of portal where I can log in directly as a consumer. Because if I get a defective product from, say, any manufacturer, sometimes those manufacturers are not helping, but I know it's a BIS certified product. So in some forum where I can easily complain and it is visible to all, in that way, those manufacturers will also feel that, okay, my name will go away. My brand value is at stake. So I have to make it sure that it doesn't come in public. So there can a lot of things can be done, but yeah, definitely it needs government support.
So we should ask BIS now. They have a Manak Manthan portal. They already have a portal. So maybe they must give another extension where the users or the consumers can log in and share their feedback, because we live in a digital era world and digital world now. But BIS being the licensing authority, they can't be doing this. So who else should be doing this market surveillance? Is an Indian context. I think I saw Anupamji raising his hand. Maybe he wants to.
Maybe like DHI is, helping in this.
So, yeah, I just wanted to reconfirm this, Ramaji, that see, BIS is a certification body. Even though the BIS Act actually authorizes BIS to conduct raids, searches, and surveillance, But really speaking, market surveillance is a regulatory, completely regulatory activity, number one. Second, I mean, if you take away BIS as a government body, you see a certification body is a stakeholder they have certified. How can they do the market surveillance for there if it is regulated? So as a part of their own certification, they are authorized. They can go on to test products on the market. It's not market surveillance, basically. I mean, it's part of their internal surveillance program. Market surveillance is clean regulatory function. Government has to do it. Under the original OTR that we had submitted to DHI, it contained a very elaborate provisions for market surveillance, including all state agencies. All of that was recommended over there. And ultimately, I think that's what will happen in India as well. BIS is not the body to be doing market surveillance. It's like this. I mean, since there's nobody else, they are doing it. It's like this.
Okay, if not a market surveillance, it's just a jugglery of word. Okay, it's some kind of a monitoring mechanism, a surveillance activity. Something has been certified, and in the regulatory structures, they have defined all this. But now, when the QCOs, we really want to know, where do we go and lodge a complaint if it is a defective product or a machinery or whatever it is?
So in Europe, the companies who are certifying the Annexure 4 machines, which are high risk machine. So in that, see, one is they issue a EU type examination certificate, which is basically a design certificate that your design is valid and it is fine. Now, but there is a chance by, notified body has approved the design, but the manufacturer doesn't manufacture as per the design which is certified. Or there is a process issue or process defect, which made a non-conforming product and it goes to the market. Then they always do a yearly audit, which is a surveillance audit. We don't call it as a market surveillance audit. It is a surveillance audit. So that is conducted by a notified body, but it is similar to what ISO systems every year we do a surveillance audit. So they will take some samples. If that sample is defective, they will issue an NCR. But again, it is a sampling audit. Like there is always a possibility of defects passing on if it is a sampling based inspection. But finally, the manufacturer has to be responsible for it. If there is no big penalty imposed on manufacturers or on the notified body, actually, in Europe, it is a crime if you make a non-conforming product and put a CE mark on it. That is why they are very much concerned on the safety of people.
One question, Mr. Sangameshwar, a fellow consultant who is sitting with me in the office, he's just asking this question. This is from a users of the machinery perspective. Can they insist on a certificate of compliance from manufacturers alone? From a compliance point of view. Is that the question, sir? Can they insist on a COC from a manufacturer alone?
Yeah. So, see, there are two things. One is a mandatory thing which BIS is bringing.
Yes.
Another is a contractual thing which any manufacturer or any customer can ask. If I am buying a machinery, I can tell my supplier I need minimum this thing as per whatever. It can be a world standard, it can be a US requirement. So that is a part of a contract. It is not something which is mandatory. But as a buyer, I can always say that I need this safety to be implemented, light curtains to be there, safety sensor should be there. So if there should not be any blind corners where a person is working if it is a big machine. So it is based on the agreement between the manufacturer and the supplier. But yes, after this implementation of OTR, then it will become compulsory. But over and above, if you feel something extra than the BIS standard should be applied, it is always between a manufacturer and the supplier. Nobody can stop it. So if the manufacturer need to submit or need to supply to that company, they have to implement it if they have the competency.
One question, I just wanted to share this. Now, this machinery and the electrical equipments, these two cover medical equipments, right? Or are medical equipments, medical devices exempted from this?
I believe it is not in this. Anupamji?
Medical equipments? Because
yeah, so medical equipment, first of all, are not listed here. The second is there is an exemption in the QCO with regard to already products which are already covered in different regulations. I think at least BIS schemes. We'll have to check particularly about medical devices. But one thing is clear: The schedule does not cover medical devices. So to that
Oh.
extent, for the moment, we should be okay with that one. And
Right.
I don't think it will be actually included at any point of time. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the
Yes,
speakers'
yes, yes.
presentations, they said exemption is given to other QCOs, from BIS. It didn't talk about other regulations. Other QCOs from
Yeah.
BIS is the exemption, but there was some discussion that medical equipments also said it is covered. So I'm just seeking that clarification.
Ma'am, it talks about hygiene.
Mm.
Hygiene requirements.
Not only
Yeah, in the
hygiene.
schedule
Maybe
too, I think
about
that's what I
electrical-
remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if it is not covered, fine. I just wanted to know if it is covered, medical equipments.
No,
In terms
medical
of like food and pharma machineries, so food and
Okay.
pharma machinery hygiene or the type of material what you're using, again, it goes to back to the design. You
Okay.
cannot use a mild steel manufacturer, MS you cannot use in pharma or food. You need SS equipment, you know. So that kind of thing will definitely come when you are manufacturing some kind of, say, centrifuge or some machinery which is going to be used in pharma and food, but not as a medical device, I would say.
Now, even pharma products, okay, machinery is fine, but those other drugs are covered. Okay, machinery is different. Maybe medical equipments, we are not too sure. That's a pharmaceutical machinery is different. I don't know. Anyhow, we will just check on the your document once again. If it is not covered, fine. Biomedical equipments. No, it is exempted is what, because it is under regulation. Because we don't have any QCOs for medical devices now at the moment in the country.
Yeah, they only I mean, Indian MDR is, you know, is there for that. So
You're right.
obviously, yeah, no other regulation, no QCO, of course not. Yes.
Right. That's fine. Anyhow, because I have a question on contract manufacturing there. Again, since you asked us to park it, I'll write to you, because what the regulatory definition says and what we say in BIS are two different things. Maybe I'll write to you, Ranjit ji, and as well as to you also. Maybe you can look at it later. Because if medical devices are covered under this, the legal liability of a legal manufacturer, what is given in the regulatory definition, and here are two different things actually, because again, we need harmonization. Sometimes we keep saying jocularly, forget about international harmonization. We need harmonization within the country between various regulatory structures and all that, because sometimes some of these structures are a little contradictory also, which is a little confusing often at the marketplace. I will write to you anyhow. That's all from my side. Thank you. One group picture, please. Smita, can you join us? And
yes.
Manojji is there.
There is a small question out here about aerospace related. Is
There's a question.
anything?
Aerospace machinery. What about aerospace related? We have a session on 9th, Saturday.
Yes, sir.
We have
It's dedicated to
we're
space.
talking about this
Aerospace.
machinery, aerospace equipments in machinery.
Yes.
I'm not getting that question. So actually, aerospace machinery, any product or any machine, I would
Yes.
say, which will be used in any industry, whether it is
Yes.
pharma, food, aerospace, engineering, steel, all will be covered in OTR, because what we are covering is specific HSN code machines, like Anupanji also said, drill machine, which will be used in wood also, steel also, and some other thing also. So where you are going to cover it, but yes, it will be covered if a machine is used. But yeah, not the parts of aeroplane. I don't think that will be covered in this thing.
Questions? I think Manojji is not here. I think any other questions? Smita, just check quickly. If nothing is available, I think.
No, sir.
Any other
No, ma'am.
questions from the audience? Anybody wants to ask anything quickly, please? One or two questions to the panelists. If there are no questions, then we can actually close the session. But it was indeed a very insightful conversation, meaningful
Just
conversation.
one point I want to add here, like manufacturer's definition in European regulation is not only the actual manufacturer, it is manufacturer, importer, distributor, authorized representative. All these are considered under the definition of manufacturer in case of CE marking and EU regulation.
Interesting. We have actually we have brought at least in medical devices, all the distributors, resellers, all of them are covered, but not under manufacturer's definition for licensing purposes. Because there are legal liabilities. That is what I'm saying. What the technical regulations are defining, but what are the legal liabilities are slightly different. That is why Europe is using that structure. We don't have that actually. We got
Ramaji, ideally, a regulation for machinery safety must get extended to the user as well, because eventually it is the safety of the labor in the workplace that is being addressed. So we cannot simply continue to say that it's only the manufacturer and all that. What happens once it reaches a company or a factory and they change the parameters, then what happens? So it has to get extended. I think, again, that's a matter of evolution. It will happen over time. Absolutely. Yes.
Not only the users, it is actually the complete supply chain. As he was mentioning, there are distributors involved, there are resellers, there are assemblers.
Yeah, so I think Ranjit will bear me. I think for others, there are liabilities, for General QCO and BIS Act. These are all covered in that actually, except for the user. All economic operators in the supply chain are covered in terms of liability.
Yes,
If
sir.
anyone makes a deliberate, intentional change or non-compliance, he can be hauled up under and they do it regularly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely right, sir.
There was one conversation, I'm just sharing it here in Delhi with the medical devices space just about last month. IPC did a call for a stakeholders discussion, just a clarification I'm seeking. So a manufacturer of a medical equipment has asked in case of adverse incidents, adverse events reporting, he asked IPC, like, I didn't manufacture the equipment. I have given it to a contract manufacturer. He has done the manufacturing. So anything going wrong with the equipment, why should I report it? I'm not responsible. It is the contract manufacturer who's responsible for this. So why should I be held responsible? So CDSCO, IPC both said very clearly, as per the regulatory structure, the end product, it's taken to the market. The license is given to you. You're the legal manufacturer. The license is granted to you. You're taking it to the market, whether you get it contract manufactured in one place or get it assembled in 100 places and do it, that's your headache, but only you're legally responsible. The license is granted to you, so only you have to write to the monitoring authorities, market surveillance authorities when things go wrong. The standard is very clear there actually. So this is something which is being used very loosely in the marketplace. Oh, I have not manufactured it. I got it done at a contract manufacturer's facility. I am not responsible for the quality or the safety of that product. So we don't. That is why I said the structures are a little different.
I think in the BIS CRS scheme, Ranjit, can you confirm this? I think it is the brand owner which is the licensed person, and he is therefore the liable person as well. It's like this, the brand owner. But I think the normal scheme, because they grant license to manufacturers, that's the difference. And one manufacturer is allowed to use multiple brands under franchise arrangements. So they do not actually haul up the brand owner, but the manufacturer under the regular BIS scheme. But if you go look at the Consumer Protection Act, there the brand owner can be certainly, he will be liable for this because he's taking ownership of quality and supply, everything.
That is why the packaging labeling norms matter so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yes.
that is users, consumers need that clarity. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, fine.
yeah.
Contract manufacturer at so and so place, and then we have about marketing is by so and so place. That itself, at least again, all this is fine. The end user doesn't know where to complain, whom to complain. That is what the whole purpose of a regulation is, to bring that clarity to the consumers. It's still not available, and there's still so much of gray zone with all these things. And that is why we're asking, somebody was asking in 2 days before agri-food session, farm to fork, explain it very simply to a consumer. That's all we are asking. In spite of all your regulations, none of us understand any of this. So that's what I was trying to say, and that's why we're just trying to bring all these things into the conversations. As consultants, even we don't have that clarity sometimes and all this. Anyhow, that's it. Smita, over to you then, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sirs. That was a wonderful, enriching session. And I think if we are allowed, we will go on and on.
I think we're losing your voice.
Like we will more sessions like this. So tune in, keep tuning to this, and please visit the website, the page where they have put up the schedule out there, and please enrich yourself. Thank you once again, everybody. And thank you for the opportunity provided for me to be part of this session.
Yeah, and Saturday, November 9th is the session on aerospace and defense and space quality and safety standards. It will be all the details are updated in the website. Request you all to log in. We'll keep inviting BIS and other experts wherever there are Indian standards available, which is very critical because most often, without even addressing this, marketplace is jumping into international standards all the time. So we will keep writing to BIS. So November 9th is a session on aerospace and defense sector. Request all of you to join. So thank you once again to all the panelists and audience. Strength is a little less, that's fine, but we'll see to it that because this recording will be sent to all and all the registered delegates, even our own database, which is quite extensive for all the people who have been participating in all the sessions over the last 5 years. Purpose is knowledge sharing to sensitize this. This will even be shared with the industry corridors, at least let them learn something from the videos, and maybe we'll take some small key takeaways from each conversation and we'll circulate it in the due course, because till December 3rd, we are packed with the sessions, and after that, we'll compile all these learnings and circulate it to the industry for the benefit of all the sectors. So thank you once again. Thank you to all the audience for joining us. Keep attending all our sessions whenever time permits. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.